Your shirt, by the way.
Dude, this is some old school shit right here.
I should have found mine because I actually have a shirt that I got when I went to his gym back in 2005. I had actually evacuated Houston for a hurricane, and a friend of mine was competing at the Tournament of Champions. She was an amateur NPC. I think it was figure actually. And so we went down to Anaheim and actually went over to Fullerton. And as we were going into the gym, it was right before the Olympia.
Hmm.
As we were going in, Ronnie was walking out, and I mean, he was what, like 4 or 5 weeks away from the Olympia then. And I was like, holy cow. And I even think Luke Wood, rest
Yeah.
in peace, was actually working out in there at the same time. And I mean, I was such a little, I had just did my, I think I had already done maybe two bodybuilding shows at that time. I mean, I was just getting into it, but I bought a t-shirt in '05 and I still have it to this day. Still actually fits. It might be the most durable t-shirt I've ever owned in my life. Had I have known you were wearing that, I'd have tried to dig mine out and put it on too, man.
Next time we'll have to coordinate something.
Absolutely. I'm rocking the old Indie Pro from back whenever I competed in it. I
I
actually forgot I
noticed
had
that.
this t-shirt.
Yeah, I noticed that,
I
man.
had it. So yeah, man, what hit me up, man. What you
Yeah.
got?
So for the viewers, yeah, here we are again. This is the Crushing Limits Unleashed podcast. We have a good friend of mine and IFBB Pro Jacob Wilson. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Yeah, we were just reminiscing the old times, Ronnie and Luke Wood, of course. I remember, he used to train out there with Milos. Yeah, I never saw him in
Absolutely.
person, but man, I mean, he was
He
definitely
was
impressive.
he was so massive. I mean, obviously Ronnie was outer worldly. And actually, when as we were leaving the gym that day, Ronnie was on his way out when we were working out, my friend and I, Luke Wood was in there working out, and I was just like, "Holy crap!" I had seen him on the internet because back then it was getbig.com. There wasn't
Yeah,
Facebook and Instagram or anything. They wasn't even. I don't even think MySpace had started yet. But I remember seeing him in some pictures and photos on getbig.com or even Muscle Mayhem that the board that Chad Nichols had.
yep,
And I was like, God, that guy looks big. And then when I saw him in person, I was like, man, like I don't even look like I work out next to this guy. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't even look like
yeah.
I've even found the gym. And then as we were walking out, I think probably some of the biggest legs that I had ever seen in my lifetime belonged to
Fedorov.
no
No?
Mustafa Mohammed.
Oh yeah, yeah,
He was walking in as we were walking out, and I just like the only thing I could see was his legs because they had their own like zip code. I was like, wow, man, like human, like an actual human has that much muscle tissue on their legs. It actually blew me away. It really did. But yeah, those were great. That was without a doubt one of the best gyms I'd ever been to in my entire life. And I really wish Milo still had that place because it truly was a one of a kind gym. You know, it really was.
yeah. It was, man. So I actually got this. I got the opportunity to train with Sean Ray.
How
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. So I trained out there. My grandma used to live out there in LA, so we'd go a couple times a year. And then I had reached out to Sean. This was like, for a few months before we were going to, go out, visit my family, cousins, and all that stuff. And he agreed to it. And it was supposed to be a one day training, but I don't know. I think, I was 18. So like, I
Wow.
think he just wanted to kind of give back. And
Yeah.
he actually picked me up for 2 days. So I got to train with him for 2 days.
Wow.
Yeah, he picked me up in his red Hummer at the time, and I mean, I was just like awestruck. And then, of course, I saw Milos there, I saw Gustavo Badell there, and that's when I got this shirt.
Yeah, man. Those are really some really good times, and it's a lot different now than it was back then. I actually miss the fact that really wasn't a social media. Like I said, it was getbig.com or Muscle Mayhem, and you would go to the message boards and just look to see like update pictures of different pros and stuff, just because you're like for me, I was just getting into it and I was really wanting to learn as much as I could. So I was buying all the DVDs. Back then you had to buy the DVD to really get the behind the scenes look. And now you just get on Instagram and watch someone's story and you're behind the scenes. But back in the days where was it Mitsuru Okabe, I think was his name, that was
Yep.
filming everybody. So I mean, I have a whole box full of what I call bodybuilding DVDs, and it's like all of Ronnie Coleman's stuff. I have everything that Jay Cutler had ever came up with. I've watched them all from start to finish multiple times.
Oh yeah.
I even have a video that Milos is in, and he's training Dennis Wolf, Hidatata, and Silvio Samuel.
Hmm.
And the DVD is called Hungry Like a Wolf, and it's actually featuring Dennis Wolf.
Well,
But Hide and Silvio are working in with him, and they're doing Milos's famous like stations
yeah.
where they go from, and I mean they're doing exercises that I had never even seen or heard of in my life, and I'm like, what is this? And so, man, I'm watching the videos, and the very next day, I'm in the gym trying that stuff. Like, that looks like it works. And so, a lot, I mean, I'm not going to lie, there's a lot of stuff, um, training wise that I think helped develop my physique a little bit in some areas that was stuff that I literally was getting from these DVDs, like where you put your feet or where you put your hands or how you do the specific. Like for me, that was like it was like having a coach or a personal trainer who's an IFBB pro that you don't even know, but they're at least, I mean, Jay was one of the best. All his videos were so, detailed. You sit there, I mean, to most people, it might have been boring watching those guys eat, but for me, I'm like, no, 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 I'm eating too. They're eating in this
Yeah.
video. I'm learning from them. Like, this is good. So, yeah, it was a lot different. I mean, it was just so much more kind of underground back then, and now it's so much more mainstream. It's kind of hard to almost differentiate it because I'm kind of my mind is still in the 90s and the early 2000s, and I haven't really woke up to 2025 yet.
I hear
It's a
that,
lot
man.
different now.
We talk about it a lot, on all of our episodes where it's just how different it is now. And I mean, trying to climb the ranks and get your pro card. And, it's like back then, that's kind of when your career started, where, guys were getting contracts with Flex Magazine, Muscular Development, Iron
Mhm.
Man. If you turn pro, Jake, like maybe you might have Muscle Tech calling you and saying, "Hey, man, like, what are you doing next week? Like, are you interested in signing?" I mean,
Yeah, no, listen, you're 100% correct, and I think that was probably one of the most biggest factors that was driving people to become a pro back then was because, believe it or not, there was a small, maybe not a large, but there was a small pot of gold at the end of that rainbow in the form of some type of contract with Weeder or one of the supplement companies. I mean, several guys I know were getting six-figure deals. And so it was like, well, hey, like I'm not saying that I'm going to get one of those, but the only way I'm going to have a shot is to turn pro, right?
mhm.
But as you know, by the time I actually turned pro, it wasn't like that anymore. It was like, well, congratulations, you're a pro. So now, pay us some more money for your pro card and enter these shows and win a few dollars. And so that was kind of it. It was just totally different. But I mean, that was definitely something in the back of the mind when I first started competing was like, hey, if I do become a pro, I'll have some financial opportunities that I wouldn't have as an amateur. But, hell, man, by the time I actually did turn pro, it was like, well, the only financial opportunity you have is to market the hell out of yourself and create your own brand. And then once you build your own brand, then you can, capitalize monetarily off of that. And like if you known me long enough, Chris, I'm not a social media guy, man. Like I have a hard enough time posting as it is. I always, when I say I'm old school, I was old school from, there wasn't a social media when I first got into it. So the best way to make your name was through your physique.
Yeah.
When you walked out on stage, your physique said everything that it needed to say about who you are and what you've been doing in your off time.
Mhm.
And so for me, it was like, I'm just going to keep showing up to every show better than I was the show before until I finally get where I need to get. Instead of, like I said, I just, when I first got into it, there really wasn't social media. And by the time I really got serious about it and social media was full force, I was like, I don't I don't need to advertise what I'm doing. I'm going to work in silence. And whenever people buy the ticket to come watch me get on stage, they'll see what I've been working on, and I kind of prided myself, even whenever I did turn pro, I was like, if anything, I'm one of the few guys that turned pro that didn't sell himself out to social media to get there, like if anything, I kind of wanted to prove to because listen, there's a whole mental health aspect to this entire industry, right?
Mhm.
And I know there are a lot of people that probably got into competing and they were probably scared to even put themselves out there because they didn't want to get ridiculed or get completely obliterated in the comment section about all the flaws of their physique. And so I kind of was like, you know what? Like I know there are a lot of people that are competing that aren't going to be, putting themselves out there. So maybe I'm going to stand up for those people and I'm not going to put myself out there, but I'm going to make sure when I come out on stage that everyone knows who I am. And so that's kind of really what I did. If anything, you know, everybody's got stuff going on, and some people have way more important stuff going on than what I have going on, and vice versa, right? And so I was just like, you know what? I'm going to let the people that want to use social media to their benefit, I'm going to let them use it to their benefit, and I'm just going to keep doing me. And that's really what I did. And hell, I'm 43, and I have so much stuff I should probably post that I don't because at the end of the day, I know there's a lot of people that aren't going to see it and they're not even going to really care. And I know there's going to be some people that are going to have, the negative mindset, or, a bad attitude towards it, and they're not going to be positive about it. And so I'm just like, you know what? Why even give the negative people any energy on this, So if I post nothing, then I don't have to worry about any of the negative energy coming into this post because it's just not even going to happen. It won't. So
Yeah.
that was really a lot. I didn't do well with negative energy. I think I grew up in a small town, and when I really started taking the bodybuilding seriously and the gym stuff, it's just the people you went to school with, everybody's going to kind of say stuff behind your back, and you start hearing rumors and you hear things. Oh, so and so said this about you, or so and so said that about you, and I was like, you know what? I think the best thing I can do is just get away from this negative energy and get around like people that are like-minded, like doing the same stuff. So that's, I ended up leaving my small town and going into Houston, Texas, where, there were people competing and stuff like that. And so I felt like I fit in a little bit better. And then hell, man, when I went to Arizona for those few years, that's when I really got my, I call it my bodybuilding PhD because that's when I was around people that were doing it for a living,
Sure.
like Dusty Hanshaw is a prime example. I mean, he was living, eating, breathing, sleeping. He was like bodybuilding to its finest. And that's when I realized, like, hey, there's just a lot of stuff that I'm not doing right. I'm not prioritizing the things that I should be prioritizing. And that's whenever things really took off for me. But I had to get away from the small town mentality and some of that stuff and just get around people that are like, hey, man, like you're a bodybuilder too. That's awesome. Let's work together, right? let's get freaky together. And so, yeah, it became fun. Like that's when bodybuilding got really fun. I think it was hard for me at first because I had some friends and I did have friends that compete, but there was nobody that was just doing it at that level that needed to be done to become a pro. And once I got into that like circle of people that were doing it at the level to become a pro, I really learned what I wasn't doing right, and I learned how far behind I really was and how much time I had been wasting all those years leading up to then. And I was like, all right, enough's enough. Let's get on the right track. And so then, from that point forward, it's like, man, things started happening really fast and taking off for me. And I'm like I said, I'm forever grateful. And I mean, if anything now, it's you try to pay it back a little bit to some of the younger guys or people that are coming up. They're trying to figure stuff out, and you're just kind of like, hey, I've done everything the wrong way for a long time, and I've done everything the right way for a short amount of time, and I know which way works. Promise you.
Yeah,
So just stick to this way, and you'll be fine. You do it the other way, and you're just gonna spin your wheels forever. So yeah,
100%,
man.
man. Yeah, we're always, that's one of like our one-liners, I guess, if you will, is, like we've done every way wrong, between both of us, over 50 shows combined. It's like, trust me, we've made all those mistakes, and we will save you the time.
Honestly, that's the thing is though, you're 100% correct. Like we'll save you the time. This sport is all about time.
Yeah,
Like you're not going to progress unless you put in the time, and you got to put in the work. Not just the time, but you got to put in the work. And when I say the work, it's not just the supplements, man. You got to put in the training and the eating. If you can't do those two things right, you're literally going to spin your wheels. And just like I tell people, I hear these stories. I have people texting me, calling me, whatever it is, like, man, I got all this stuff, I got, whatever it is, I got all these things that I need to turn pro, but I know that they're not doing the other things right. And I'm like, well, good luck with that. I'm glad you got all that stuff because it's not going to do a whole, I mean, yeah, you might look good for a little while, but once again, unless you're building that foundation, unless you have the slab poured, your house ain't going to stand up very long. It'll get blown over. And so, yeah, man, that's the biggest thing about this entire sport is the amount of time that it takes to really build a true championship physique. It definitely doesn't happen overnight. You gotta put in some time. And like I said, at the end of the day, I don't care how much time you put in. If you haven't been doing it the right way and doing all and checking all the boxes, you're still never going to reach your full potential. You're never going to get to where you possibly could get because you're not doing all of the right things. And that's just the most important. I keep hammering that into people. This isn't something that's going to happen in a week or a month or a year. It's going to be more like minimum 5 years before you really start seeing the fruits of your labor, come to fruition. But if you're doing progress pics, you can see year by year, you can see the progress. But it won't be until you look at year one to like year 4 and 5 where you're like, oh wow, man, like I look totally different now. Like,
yeah.
take progress pics. I definitely am guilty. When I was first getting into it, I didn't take a whole lot of progress pics, very little at that. So when I do look back in the past, I did my first show in 2004, probably from 2004 to 2012. I didn't really take many photos at all. I mean, I have like pictures from like the competition when I was on stage and maybe a few photos from here and there. But I didn't take a lot. And then when I go back and look at them, I'm like, oh my gosh, look at this. I used to actually look like that. Oh my gosh. Man, I mean, like I was that small. Like my very first show, I was you got to remember, man, this was '04, so things are so much different in the state of Texas and the NPC all the way back to 2004. you couldn't even compete in an open division until you won novice,
Mm.
right? Like you had to compete in novice.
Mm.
So if you were a first time competitor, you had to come in it wasn't like true novice or not like that. Like you were a
Mhm.
novice and you couldn't even sign up for an open division unless you won first place in a novice class. Like you had to graduate up
Mm.
into the open division. And so I did my very first show. I was a novice lightweight, and I weighed in, I think, at 163 pounds. I mean, I didn't have much for muscle, but I had zero body fat. My parents, I actually had left their house a few days prior to and drove out to Houston. It was the Lee Labrada Classic.
Mhm.
And so it was held in downtown Houston, which was like an hour, maybe an hour and a half drive for me at the time. So the guy that was kind of helping me as my coach lived out there, and I left a few days early, and it didn't take but a couple of days. And by the time my parents got there to watch me compete, when I walked out on stage, my mom didn't even recognize me. My sister was in this audience. She's like, "Look, mom, there's Jake." And my mom's like, "That's not my son." And then my mom like realized like, "Oh my God, that is him." She just saw how drawn in my face was. Because that's like I didn't really start manipulating water until like the last couple of days before I got on stage. Up until that point, I was like, I felt like I was eating and drinking everything. And then, I slowly pulled back the water a little bit. And I mean, I remember waking up the morning of the show and then going into the bathroom and looking at my abs, and I was like, oh my God, man, I have abs. Like that was the whole reason why I got into competing. I wanted to have a six pack abs, like I was the guy that was at the gym trying to build muscle and I wasn't doing it the right way. So I was just eating whatever.
Mhm.
And man, it started showing around my midsection. And I was like, this is not, I don't like the way this looks. And so I really wanted to, all I cared about was getting the craziest set of abs that I could possibly get. And a guy that was a local guy that was competing, had come in the gym one day and he was getting ready for, I think, like the Lone Star Classic or something. This was probably around 2002, actually. And he lifted up his shirt and I was like, and he was like an open middleweight, but I was like, oh my gosh, look, I couldn't, nothing else mattered to me. When I saw the abs and the waist, I was like, that's what I want. Like, that's what I want. But I had no intentions of ever competing.
Mhm.
But my personality doesn't do good half-assed. I'm either all or nothing. I can't, I just,
Yeah.
anybody that does anything half-assed or 50%, I don't even know how they even exist because like unless you're giving your all to something, like what are you giving?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're
And how do
giving
you
your
know? Like, how do you know?
like you're giving your half. Like you can have my half. No, you can have all of me. Take all of this. I'm going to give you everything that I have. And so for me, I did not want to compete, but I definitely wanted abs. And I had a couple of guys who were like, "Man, you should really compete. You should think about it." And so, I'm working at a gym, going to college, and I'm seeing people come in that a few people here and there that were doing some shows and not even like IFBB Pro material, but just competing. And I was like, man, like the conditioning, I want to get lean. And so I finally, here's the real kind of funny story behind it. I went to a country western bar one night, and I'm all dressed up, to go out. And I roll up and I walk in, and I'm wearing like some khaki pants, and I got a collar shirt on, button up, it's all tucked in, wearing a belt, and my pants were pretty tight because I was putting on a lot of weight, but it wasn't the best weight, right? And I went to use the restroom. I walked into the bathroom to use the restroom, and the moment I undid the belt, let go of the belt, man, the button on the pants flew off and hit the urinal. Boom! And I was like, oh my God, I just busted the button off my dress pants. Like, what in the is wrong with me? And so, man, I like after I got through using the restroom, I zipped up and put my belt. I was like, thank God I got a belt on right now.
Yeah.
And I had like, and I'm not even a big alcoholic guy, but I'd had a couple of drinks that night and I was like, I'm out of here. So I left and I went home and I literally went to bed. I was so like disappointed in myself. I'm like, how do you like get to this point where you're literally breaking your clothes? Like I definitely know I'm not doing something right. And so I was like, I'm gonna get ready for a show. I'm gonna do a show. And so um a lady that was my boss at the gym was competing in the she I think she competed in NPC before, but she ended up going into like the natural federations.
Mhm.
And I just remember her telling me one day at work, she was like, I pretty much eat tuna fish and green beans for every meal. And I was like, really? She's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, sounds good to me. So I just started eating. My dad, he would buy groceries like he was feeding the Salvation Army. And so we had cases of tuna fish in the paint, like cases of it. I'm like, well, my dad's been telling us we got to eat this stuff, so I'm gonna go ahead. Literally every day, I was knocking down like 8 cans of tuna and
Oh,
2 cans of green beans. Yeah, the canned green beans. I'd drain out
yeah.
the fluid, heat them up in the microwave, and like rock and roll. And that's what I was doing. I did that for literally like probably 10 weeks. And then finally I got kind of directed to someone that was competing in Houston who that was the first time I'd actually saw someone like with my own two eyes and was like, oh my gosh, like that's got to be what a pro bodybuilder looks like. Cause I had never seen anything that big in my life, actually at the time. And so he actually gave me, I was like maybe 6 weeks out or something. And he's like, man, you got, everything's there. We got to get you on a real diet. And so he put me on a real diet. And, man, like I felt like I was like, is this actually a diet? I get to have a steak? Like I've been eating tuna fish. I get to have a steak. So yeah, I got on a real diet and I won, I won my novice lightweight class. I still have the picture of me holding my first place plaque
Hmm.
with holding my hand up with Lee Labrada. And yeah, I still have my plaque, I still have my medal. I took the same plaque and I brought it to the Labrada Christmas party back in 2018, I think it was. Hunter was like, "Hey man, I wanted to invite you to my our family Christmas." A bunch of people were there,
Hmm.
and so I'm like, "Oh man, I'm gonna blow everybody's mind." So I brought the photo of me and Lee, and I brought the plaque, and I actually took a picture with Lee holding my plaque and the photo. But it was like 14 years later. And so, yeah, like I said, it was such a great experience for me. I was obviously super skinny and shredded, but I remember my dad wasn't even sitting with my mom and my sister. I guess he was sitting off kind of back a little bit, just kind of off by himself. And
Hmm.
he had told me after the fact, my mom didn't recognize me, and I guess my dad must have recognized me, but apparently some people that were sitting around my dad when I walked out on stage, they like turned and looked at each other and they were like, "Oh my God, what is that guy's body fat? He has no body fat on him." And my dad's like, "That's my son," like they looked at him and they were like, "Dude, like that guy looked like he came out of a concentration camp." And so yeah, I had some people come up to me after the show and they were like, "Hey man, like if you really stick to this, you could go really, really far." And I mean I did stick to it and I went as far as I possibly could, but it took me a little bit longer than probably would take most people because I was like I said, man, I was spinning my wheels, man. I wasn't doing anything the right way, but that's really how I got into it. When people ask me like, what got you into bodybuilding? I wanted a 6 pack, 8 pack, whatever. Like I wanted to have the flattest stomach you could possibly have, and I definitely achieved that. Over the years, if anything, it just as I got older, my waist and everything just got better and better and better, obviously. But Yeah, that's what got me on the stage. I just couldn't, there was no way that I could fathom myself getting abs without like making myself do a show,
Hmm.
like putting myself on stage, because that was the most extreme way to get from point A to point B. Like I didn't have to do a show, but I knew that if I didn't set the bar really high, that I probably wouldn't have pushed myself to the level that I did to reach that goal, right?
Yeah.
And basically the it taught me a valuable life experience that very first show. Each show I got better because I got smarter and I did things a better, smarter way. But if you bring it all the way back to the very beginning, like unless you're someone that has the competitive fire already burning in you, a lot of people have a hard time getting motivated to accomplish things. And I mean, it could be just cleaning your house, right? Like you have to be a motivated person to be able to accomplish anything in life, right? You got to have that work ethic. You got to have like a level of discipline. You got to have some capacity of desire, right? Like you have to truly want something. And when you truly want something and you want to do something, the competitive fire in you will lead you to that end goal, right? And so I mean, I'm a competitive person, not against other people. I'm just competitive against myself.
Hmm.
And I think a lot of people will ask me, why are you so competitive? Because I want the best for myself, right? Who
Yeah.
doesn't want the best for themselves? And so the greatest gift that bodybuilding, a competitive bodybuilding gave me was it made me make myself better every day. Every day you're trying to get your because if you're getting on stage, you can't get on stage and look the same that you did the last show, or everyone's gonna be like, hey man, you look the same, you didn't make any improvements or anything, you know? And so I'm like, no, man, I'm gonna just keep getting better. And so it becomes a mentality, right? Like you just every day better, right? And this that mentality, it just you wake up every day, you know what you have to do, you know what you need to do, and you just do it. But the thing is at the time I was so invested in competing that little did I know that all of the traits and qualities that I used during competing and becoming a pro are the same things that they apply to everyday life in every field, in every occupation, no matter what you're doing, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
You have to wake up every day with your game plan and you have to tackle each and every day, make it the best day you can. And yes, we're going to have obstacles. We're going to have things that are going to get in our way and slow us down, maybe even try to stop us. And in many cases, it may even, it might be a short-term speed bump where you have to change gears and go in a little different direction for a little while, but you still circle back around because guess what? You hadn't reached your goal yet, you know?
Right.
So, I mean, Chris, you know this better than anybody. You're one of the most resilient people that I've ever met. Like, you've had more surgeries than pretty much anybody that I've ever met, man. And like, crap. I don't
Appreciate
know.
that, man.
I seriously, I could count on one hand the number of individuals that I know in my lifetime that would have kept going forward, and not stopped. And you're one of them. There's a few others that I know that have the mental fortitude to say, hey, you know what? I've had a lot of, setbacks, but that's not going to stop me from what I'm trying to accomplish. And I think you're a great ambassador for the industry, your wife as well. Um, I think you are both great ambassadors for a lot of reasons. I mean, this podcast could go on forever. If you let me sit here and give you all the different reasons why I think the both of y'all are great ambassadors for the industry. But more importantly, just from what you've overcome, Chris, you're a great ambassador because you're a walking testament that, hey, man, you can have a lot of health setbacks that are in many cases out of your control,
Mhm.
right? Like there was a
Yeah.
lot of stuff you couldn't stop it. Like this was just your body doing what your body was doing. And so for you to keep picking yourself up off the mat and getting back on the saddle, climbing back up on the horse after she kicked you off and keep on riding, man. A lot of people, after they get thrown off the horse once, they're not going to ever get back on it again. And so
Yeah.
I've always admired your mental fortitude because not everybody has that. And I don't put a dollar value on success, because I know people, I mean, I'm not exaggerating. I know people that are worth over $100 million and they are miserable. They
Mhm.
are unhappy, miserable. Like when you talk to them, instead of like having a positive outlook and like sunshine and rainbows, it's like, man, dude, you have a darker cloud over your head than I do, and you still have your wife and kids and all your family.
Mhm.
Like why? Like why? Man, it's a mentality, man. Like it's a mentality. Like you can't buy happiness, and you can't make happiness. Like happiness has to come from within. It starts from within with everybody. And you have to find, if like I said, if you're not happy, then change it. Like if you're not happy doing what you're doing, then get out of it and change it. And so yeah, like I said, bodybuilding gave me a crash course on all the qualities, competitive bodybuilding, on all the qualities that any human being needs to be successful in anything in life, regardless of how much money you make. Like if you want to accomplish your goals, any goal that you set out, if you take the traits that it takes for anybody to get on stage and look their best, if you can put those traits in everyone, then everybody, we wouldn't have people, sitting around on their butts doing nothing. Like everybody would be up, like, making an impact in this world. And too many people are sitting around waiting for the handout, waiting for the magic pill that they can take, that they just swallow and they look a certain way. And a doctor can't just take a pill or a shot and become a doctor.
Yeah.
A bodybuilder can't just take a pill or a shot and become a bodybuilder, right? A lawyer can't take a pill or a shot. Like in order to get to the top of the food chain, you gotta have some dedication, and you gotta be able to work. You gotta be able to grind. You gotta be able to get dirty. It's gonna be ugly, but it's worth it. Anybody out there that doesn't think it's not worth it, it's worth it. I almost would encourage more people to compete, just because I think it does bring out the best in people.
Mhm.
But just like a conversation I had with Jose Raymond the other day, about just life in general, and life and the sport, you can't be a head case in this sport. Head cases don't really make it very far.
Mhm.
Most of them won't turn pro, because they get in their own way all the time. Like they can't get out of their own way, and they want to blame everybody else but themselves, right? Like
Yeah.
you have no one to blame but yourself. I never blamed a coach for any of my shortcomings, right? If I didn't think that I was at my absolute best, and I thought that maybe my coach, um, could have maybe had me in a little bit better, I never blamed him. I went and got a coach that I thought was going to get me where I needed to go,
Mhm.
right? I never had hard feelings towards anybody. And I had a handful of coaches over the years. Um, but I never, if I didn't win, I didn't like, oh, my coach screwed me on this. Like, no, I didn't win because I probably wasn't the best looking guy on stage. And whose fault was that, right? Did I miss a meal? Did I skip one cardio session? Did I go half ass on a workout? Like when I wasn't getting first place and I was walking off stage, those were the questions I was asking myself. Like, what did I not do to get the result that I wanted? Like, that's what mattered the most. It wasn't about my coach. It was like, what did I not do? My coach told me everything to do. Did I do everything my coach told me to do? Yes. Okay. Well, what else could I have done? Right. And then it just, for me personally, everyone's different. For me, as I, kind of prep myself at the beginning, and then I got a coach, and then I went back to prepping myself again. Then I got another coach, and it was like, okay, now I just need to figure out what works best for me. And once I knew what worked best for me, I'm going to hire someone that will dial me in with those exact methods, right? Like, listen, I can't do keto. I just can't. Keto doesn't work for me. Yeah, I can get in shape. And then there just comes a certain point where my body just shuts down and it doesn't change. It doesn't do anything. And, Jose Raymond said it best. He's like, dude, your body's starving itself, man. It's starving itself. Like, yeah, the reason why there's nothing happening anymore is because you've been in this state for so long that your body's not, it's just, it's quitting on you.
Mhm.
And so, that was the big thing for me, was realizing like, hey, I can eat a lot of food and still get crazy conditioned. Why would I not do that? Who would want to intentionally starve themselves, right? Like
Yeah.
who? Like, so once I realized like, hey, if I eat a lot of food and really work my tail off, I can look better than I ever looked when I was eating no food and working my tail off. Oh, by the way, I feel so much better because I have all this food in my body, right? And so
Yeah.
that was really it. Was this has never been a blame game about my coach. This was always like, hey, man, I wasn't at my best because maybe it was something that I did,
Mhm.
right? Or maybe there was some things that happened during prep that, maybe weren't addressed on my end. And had like I said, those, once again, I circle back to those bodybuilding DVDs, man. I mean, like once I started getting soft tissue therapy, my body started changing some.
Mhm.
Like it definitely paid off. I definitely think all of that, the deep tissue, myofascial release, active release therapy, all that stuff made the muscles separate better. I think it improved my conditioning. Um, I mean, I had researched that stuff for so long, and I started getting it done, and then people were saying, oh, you can't get a deep tissue massage, like maybe you might want to stop those like 2 weeks prior to your show. And then as I got more advanced and found that they have therapists that can actually do a flushing technique like the day before your show and make you look even better, I'm like, oh, whoa. Like these are things that I wasn't doing. Like this ain't my coach's fault. Right? That ain't my coach's fault. That was my fault for not doing enough research to know that, hey, man, deep tissue massage work really does pay benefits. So,
Mhm.
I mean, there was a period of time where I go to the chiropractor once a week and I would get 2 deep tissue massages every week. And I did that for years on end. Yeah. I spent a
Yeah.
lot of money on my body, right? Like
It adds
I
up.
invested a lot, but I got the result that I wanted, right? Like I wasn't abusing the supplements. If anything, I was taking less supplements especially at the end of my career, I was taking less supplements than I had ever. Chris, you and I have had this discussion before. You
Yeah.
talk to me about dosages and you're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, that's what I don't need a whole lot. Like once I figured out what worked for my body, I knew that if I ate my food, I trained the way that I was taught to train, and took care of my body the way I took care of it. I just needed a little fire, like a little fire. I didn't need a torch, just a
Right.
little fire, And so yeah, yeah, not to ramble on about that stuff, but I think it's so important, nowadays, because you guys prep people hire y'all to coach them, and I think it's real easy for competitors when they don't win, be like, oh, my coach's fault. Well, like, won't you? No, let's look at this. This was your very first show. You've never been in shape before in your life, so this is the first time anybody has ever got to see you with little body fat. And
Mhm.
in most cases, as y'all know this, you start with some guy that's like over 200 pounds and he's all just big and swole. And by the time you get him shredded up, he's like, I have no muscle left. Well, that's okay. Because the next show, you're going to have more muscle than you have now. And
Right.
the show after that, you're going to have more muscle than you had at the second show, and so on and so forth. Like my first show, I was what, 162, 163. And when I turned pro, it was 220, right? Like,
I remember.
and my conditioning was way better than it was at 162. Like, it wasn't even comparable. Like, I mean, there was nothing like, it wasn't even the same. Like, it wasn't even the same planet. But for some people, they like, well, if I put on too much muscle, I'm not going to be as lean. Like, no, you'll probably be leaner.
Yeah.
The problem is when your only focus is just mass, mass, mass. That's whenever I feel like a lot of people start really kind of hurting their physique a little bit, because now it's just all, when they do diet down, their muscles are missing some separation and some lines, because all they cared about was mass,
Yeah.
and so bigger isn't always better. Some cases it is, but it's not always the best. So it's always just it's a look. You guys know this now. You've been in the game long enough. It's a look. I don't even care how much someone weighs. And listen, as you know how close I am to Jose Raymond, this is something that, and Dusty Hanshaw as well. When you look like I'll just use the term, when you look retarded, doesn't matter how much you weigh. Retarded is retarded on stage. And when you walk out on stage and you look bananas, I promise you, it won't matter how much the guys next to you weigh, because when you're bananas, you'll blow them up, you'll blow them away. You'll blow them off the stage. And I think that was, for me, that was the mental hurdle that I had to get over. That was kind of my old school mentality, right? Was I would always diet down an entire weight class lower than I should be. So I would have this supreme conditioning. But it was actually hurting me in ways, because I was flattening out my muscles. I didn't have a lot of fullness, but I mean, I was peeled. And then, um, I remember meeting Jose Raymond for the very first time. I think it was in 2015. And I was living in Arizona at the time, training with Dusty Hanshaw, and maybe it was 2014. Maybe it was 2014. I know he did the Phoenix Europa, and I think that's when it was. I don't even know if it was 212 then. It may have been just a 210.
Yeah.
May have been 210. But Jose, I think, he came into town, and I had just competed at, maybe, man, I can't even remember which show it was now. I'd have to almost go back and look. But I was a light heavyweight at the time when I competed at the show, and I obviously had rebounded a little bit. And Dusty and I were training legs at the Metroflex gym in Phoenix, and Jose had come in with Dusty. Jose walked up to me, introduced himself, and I'm like, "Hey, I'm Jacob Wilson, blah blah blah." And he was like, "Man, you look great." He's like, "What was your last show?" And I'm like I said, I can't even remember right now. I'm drawing a blank. It may have been the USA's, but I can't remember. And he was like, "What were you, a heavyweight?" And I was like, "Heavyweight?" And I'm like, "No." And he looked at Dusty. He was like, "What weight class was he in?" And Dusty was like, "Light heavy." He's like, "Bullshit. I'm a light heavyweight." And I was like, "Yeah, man." He's like, "That's ridiculous. You should not be a light heavyweight." And I was like, "Okay." And then like I said, whenever I was prepping with him, my concern was, well, the heavyweight class cuts off at 225 and a quarter, and it starts out at 198 and a half. If I'm only like 205 or 210, like, I'm not going to have a chance. And that's when Jose was like, "Listen, man, don't pay attention to what you weigh. You're going for a look.
Hmm.
And when you nail that look, it's not going to matter how much you weigh, because you're going to beat everybody." And yeah, he was right. He definitely was right, because whenever I hit a certain look, that's whenever it got to a point right before I got my pro card. Really, when I started prepping with Jose, which really goes back to, started in 2015. Um, that's whenever I realized, like, I don't even care. Like, I would send in my updates, my progress pics with my weight in there. And I think half the time he didn't even pay attention to how much I weighed. It was all about a look. And once I had a certain look, he was like, "Oh, this." And once you get a look, then you just hold that look, and you don't do anything differently, right? Like, that last week leading up to the show, this isn't like time to reinvent the wheel. Like, hey, this is what we did to get here, and we're just going to keep doing this right up to the show. And I never had a problem where I lost my conditioning at prejudging or finals. If anything, I was getting better because I was treating every day like it was like I was 20 weeks out. Nothing really changed for me. I guess the only thing that changed was that maybe I drink a little less water, and that was about it, right? None of that stupid shit where you're not drinking water for almost 24 hours. Cause I did that. I had a coach. It's like, hey, I don't want you drinking any water the day of the show. And I'm like, okay, like I didn't even like coach said don't drink any water. And I had all these digestive issues, ended up in the hospital
Mhm.
because I couldn't use the restroom, right? Like I was so lean and so dehydrated that whenever I started eating and drinking food, I got to a point where I eventually started vomiting, but I had what was called a fecal impaction, and like from my throat all the way down to my rear end, it was like cement through my intestines, right? Yeah.
I remember
I
you
was
telling me.
I luckily drove myself to the hospital. 'Cause I mean, I consider myself a tough person, but I had reached a level where I was like, something's not right with me. And I'm like, at this point, I'm starting to vomit and I'm like, what's wrong? So I was at work at the gym and I just told the manager, I'm like, hey, I'm going to go ahead and shove on out and I'm going to drive my, and a lady that came in the gym, she was a general surgeon at St. Luke's in Houston. Luckily, her husband was a rectal surgeon as well, and he worked out of St. Luke's. And I had another buddy of mine that was a doctor up at St. Luke's, so I was really wired into the hospital pretty good. And so, uh, her name was Gretchen Zimmerman. Dr. Zimmerman, she came in that morning and she's like, Jake, you don't look good. I'm like, I feel like crap, you know? And she's like, why don't you go on up to the ER at St. Luke's? I'm like, I think I'm gonna do that. She's like, I told her my symptoms and she's like, I'm gonna have my husband David will take a look at your x-rays and everything. You need to get up there and get some scans done and let's take a look and see what's going on in your intestines. And so I immediately drove myself up to the hospital. And when I walked into the ER, the lady just lifted her head up behind the desk. She's like, "Are you Jacob?" I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "We got a wheelchair for you. Get in this wheelchair." And there was like 20 people in the waiting room at the ER, like people bandaged up,
Yeah.
bleeding, like crying. I mean, I walked in under my own power, and they're like, "Hey, we're waiting for you." And I got treated very quickly. And I couldn't even, they wanted a urine sample. I couldn't even pee in a cup. Like they were like, we need a urine sample. I'm like, I can't pee. So they hooked me up to an IV bag and I sucked down the first bag in like 5 minutes. And I went through three IV bags before I was able to even pee in a cup for them. And then I did the scans. At the time, I thought the research that I was doing, I thought I had diverticulitis.
Mhm.
Um, and so I was all nervous. I told the doctor that was doing my scans, I'm like, I think I have diverticulitis. So I did all the stomach scans and then went back to the waiting room area where I'm laying in the hospital bed. And they came in, they were like, you want the good news first or the bad news? I was like, give me the bad news first. They were like, bad news is you have a fecal impaction. Good news is you don't have diverticulitis. I'm like, awesome. They were like, so you don't have to stay overnight at the hospital. And I'm like, great. So they gave me some stuff to drink and I went home and man, it was just, I mean, I spent days just sitting on the toilet, but that doctor told me that the level that I was at, probably had I have waited another 12 hours, I'd have went septic and eventually probably would have died under I wouldn't have even known any better, right? Like no one told me any different. Hey, coach said don't drink any water, for the show. And then,
Yeah.
all these years later, I'm working with Jose, and Jose's like, every time you eat, I want you sipping on a little bit of water. Like, you're not going to completely stop drinking water. And like, once again, best I ever looked in my entire life, right? Like, all these little things that you hear, like, oh, you're not supposed to drink water. Like, BS,
Yeah.
BS. Like you're taking all those diuretics and you're not going to drink water? Are you that stupid? Who told you to take all those diuretics and drink no water? Because whoever told you that, literally is a moron. Like it's I guess that's the one part of this. You guys know this. That's the part of this industry that's really tough because there are people out there that are putting out bad information and receiving bad information, and then they use themselves as a guinea pig, and doesn't end well for them, you know. So
Yeah, it's
yeah,
very
like I said,
dangerous.
that's very, very dangerous. So that's definitely one of those like a very dangerous story of probably the most dangerous part of my bodybuilding journey was not drinking water. I think it was like the day before prejudging and like the whole day of the show. Like, I mean, it was like, I mean, I'm trying to get down a steak, a baked potato covered in honey with no fluid.
Brutal.
Like, get out of here, man.
Yeah.
And that was, by the way, when I got sick, that was in 2008. I had just won the junior nationals, the NPC, not the overall, the middleweight division.
I
And
remember.
I was like, you know what? Everybody was like, dude, the guys that I did know that were, you know, what kind of known in the sport at the time, Michael Ergus, as a matter of fact, a good friend of mine, Big Mike Ergus.
Yeah.
He wasn't even a pro yet. When I take that back, I stand corrected. Poor Mike. He should have been a pro a lot sooner than he was. He ended up turning pro in 2005, if I'm not mistaken, or it was '06, '05 or '06. But I remember him in '04, and I'm like, how did that guy not turn pro in '04?
Hmm.
And then maybe it was '06 when he got his pro card, but this was 2008, and I had been friends with him and communicated with him. And after I won junior nationals and let him know, he's like, dude, you got to go to the USA's, man. It's 4 or 5 weeks away. You got to show the judges that you can hang with the big dogs, man. Like, go do it, man. You just won the junior nationals. It's a huge thing. So I showed up my first show as a middleweight at the USA Championships in 2004. And no, I'm sorry, 2008. Sorry, I did my first show in '04. 2008, and I got I ended up getting the fourth place trophy. I mathematically tied Scott Turner for third place.
Hmm.
But because that was my first time to do the USA's and he had already done it more than once, the tiebreaker went to the person who had done that show the more times.
Hmm.
And I didn't know that. I had to actually reach out to my NPC chairman at the time to get like the clarification on that. I'm like, because I was at the contest hotel Sunday morning looking at the official score sheets, and I'm like, wait, I got the same score as the guy that got third place, but I got fourth. How did that happen?
Yep.
So anyhow, at the time, Scott Turner had gotten third place, and then he and I became friends from just competing at that show. The next year, I competed at that show in '09 as a middleweight again. That was the last year I competed as a middleweight, and think I got sixth place or something, if I'm not mistaken. But I was like, man, this is not what I wanted, you know. I definitely wanted to be better, not worse. So it took I had taken some time after that in '09 and then came back. But when I came back, Scott Turner is actually the one that kind of talked me back into I had actually kind of quit competing. And then I think we were talking on MySpace. That's how far back this was. We were talking on MySpace. And he's like, dude, you should compete again. And I finally went out and visited him in Arizona. And that was the first time I went and visited him one weekend. We went to a local show out there. And Dusty Hanshaw, I think, had just won the super heavyweight at Junior Nationals when he was guest posing. And that's the first time I saw Dusty in person. I was like, golly, that guy's a freak, like. And little did I know that, a couple of years later I'd be moving out there, and then Dusty and I would end up, getting together and start training together. And he challenged me, man. That's the thing about Dusty that I loved is, he wasn't going to train. He wasn't going to train with anybody that wasn't going 150% balls to the wall. And he didn't even want to, if you weren't giving max effort, he didn't even want to associate with you. Like I didn't even take my cell phone out during the workouts because that was like sacrilegious. He didn't want you focusing on anything but the next lift, the next rep, the next set. And I mean, yeah, in between sets, he and I might share a few giggles or ask a few questions or something. But when we were under the bar, man, it was like we were at church, and it was different for me. Like I had reached out to him. I had seen him at a bunch of the local shows in Arizona when I was living there, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna compete some more. Um, but I wanted to make sure, matter of fact, I had won the Arizona Open, the overall, the Mr. Arizona title in 2011. I had stopped competing in '09, wasn't going to compete anymore. And then Scott talked me into competing in 2011. And we were both going to compete together at the LA Championships in Los Angeles. And I was like going to visit I was going from Houston to Arizona like every like 5 weeks or so just to work out and like be in a better environment for fitness at the time. I felt like the West Coast had a little bit further advancement on the competition side than I was getting in the Houston area. So I was out there a lot, and Scott ended up backing out of the Arizona. Well, he backed out of the LA Championships, and he's like, I'm just going to do the USAs, but he didn't even do the USAs that year. Um, so he was like, hey, man, instead of going to LA, let's just do the Arizona Open here. It's the week before the USAs. You'll get requalified, and then we'll drive up to Vegas the week after the show, and we'll compete there. And I actually won the overall at that Arizona Open, but one of Dusty's clients, I was a light heavyweight, and Dusty had a client that was a super heavyweight, and I beat his guy in the overall. So Dusty actually kind of knew who I was just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So fast forward, 2013 or 14, I moved there in 2012, and I've been seeing him here and there at the gym, just kind of in passing. But I was doing everything on my own at the time then. I was just working out by myself, just kind of spinning my wheels. And I was like, you know what? Dusty has like one of the best backs in this sport. Like he wasn't even a pro yet. And I'm like, there are some pros that don't even have a back like his. I'm like, I need to get on that level. And so I remember walking up to him at a show, and I'm like, hey man, I'm like, I want to talk to you about training me. He's like, yeah. And I'm like, I want a bigger back. So whatever it's going to cost me money wise, I'm willing to pay you. I just want my back bigger. And he's like, yeah. He's like, you reach out to me and we'll coordinate. And so I remember reaching out to him, and I'm like, all right, man, let me know, what day and time you want to get together for back, and just take me through the workout, show me what I got to do, and I'll pay you. And he's like, all right, we start Sunday at the Awatuki Gold's gym. It's a little kind of south of Phoenix, and it's leg day. And I'm like, leg day? Like, I'm not doing leg days. I want a bigger back.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, nah, man, I reached out to him. I'm like, hey, he's like, no, we start on Sunday and it's leg day. And man, let me tell you guys something. I don't care how big my legs were when I walked in the gym that day at that time, because my legs were way more ahead of my upper body at that time, which is why I wanted Dusty to bring up my back. I had no upper body compared to my legs. My upper body was way behind.
Mm-hmm.
And I went in thinking like, oh, it's leg day. I do legs in my sleep, right? Like this is going to be a piece of cake. And holy shit, man. Like I, after leg extensions, I couldn't even walk. That was just leg extensions. And I'm like, what? Like, he's like, we're just getting started. I'm like, getting started? Dude, I can't even walk. I was driving a Jeep Wrangler Unlimited. I crawled to the Jeep when we left the gym. I was driving back to my place, and I was like, I need to stop and get some stuff at the grocery store, like rice and chicken. I opened the door and turned my legs to like hop out of my Jeep. And the moment my feet hit the ground, I collapsed into the asphalt pavement. I couldn't even stand up.
Oh my
Crazy.
goodness.
Couldn't even, and it was like 108 degrees outside. So it was hot. I was burning my hands. And I'm like, listen, I had never in my lifetime had a leg workout like that. And I'm like, wow, if I was able to do what I did on my own, imagine what this kind of training is going to do for my body, like any part of my body.
Yeah.
And like I said, that's when I always, anytime I tell people I got my bodybuilding PhD when I moved to Arizona. Yeah. Thanks, Dusty. Really
That's
appreciate it, man. Crippled me after my first leg workout. But little did I know he was trying to bring up his legs. So he wanted to like see like, so what do you do? How do you what do you do? And I'm like, I don't do this. I just do like some leg extensions. I'll go do a front squat, maybe a rear squat, maybe a leg press, and I go home. And he's like, what? That's all you do? I'm like, yeah. He's like, oh man. I'm like, yeah, I guess I got some good genetics in my lower body because I don't train like this at all. So I finally admitted to him one day, I said, I guess my genetics is what helped me on my legs because I don't train like this. And he looked right at me. He was like, yeah, you're right. I'm like, okay, so this is how it's going to be from here on out. So, like I said, that was really the beginning for me when I really realized like I'm not doing anything the way I need to be doing it. And so I learned really fast. But um yeah, I mean, shoot, man. I mean, as you know, when I turned pro, God love him. I love Derek Lunsford. I mean, he's right now the greatest thing the sport has walking around physique wise. I mean, he is truly, once again, he is walking proof that it doesn't matter how much you weigh when you walk out on stage.
hmm
You can still blow everybody away when you look a certain way. And as you know, I turned pro in 2017, went in the heavyweight class. Derek won the light heavyweight, and Patrick Moore was a super. And I mean, I already knew, you could just see the photos of Derek leading into that show. And I mean, Jose and I talked about it. He was like, man, the one guy you're gonna have to worry about is going to be in the overall, and it's going to be that Lunsford kid because
hmm
he's got some shape and structure that just very few people have. Like,
Right.
I don't care what you take, I don't care what you eat, and I don't care how you lift. There are some people that just have a structure that was built for this sport. And when those people eat and train and take it seriously, like a Jay Cutler, a Ronnie Coleman, right? Like Phil Heath, the sky's the limit, right? Like they're just genetic anomalies. They're one in a million. I mean, Hunter Labrada has some of the same genetics, right? Like, look at his father. His father is a walking Greek god, right? Still looks absolutely out of his mind for his age.
hmm
So clearly Hunter is going to look out of his mind. And Hunter's still for his age and what I mean, he's from the time he's turned pro to now, he's come a long way. But everybody from the time you look at when Derek turned pro to now, it's like, holy hell. But that's because these guys are doing it the right way, day in and day out. But yeah, like I said, I went into the overall knowing that it was, me, Derek, and Patrick were probably going to be the three guys the judges were focused on the most. I definitely knew that Derek being the young guy, good looking guy. I mean, I was ugly. I had no hair. I was a lot older than him. Um, I knew it was going to be I knew it would be tough to beat him, right? Like I was going to have to be 100% on, and I was going to need him just to slip up a little bit, maybe at finals or something, so that when we get out for the overall, that just maybe, and then, dumb me, I kind of blame myself for this. Not to say that Derek didn't have his own intentions, but we go to the photo shoot that following Sunday morning for Mr. Mannion, the mandatory photo shoot. And I was that was like for me, like I couldn't even, like I was still trying to wrap my head around it because for so many years, that's what every competitor wanted. Like you wanted to make it to that Sunday photo shoot because that meant you won your weight class,
hmm
right? Like not that you just got a pro card, that you won your weight class.
Mhm.
And so I almost didn't even think it was surreal to me because every meeting that I went to, when you do the USA Championships, you hear them talk about, hey, class winners, don't forget on Sunday there's a mandatory photo shoot. And if you don't show up, well, they might even not even let you get your pro card. I'm like, I ain't letting that happen. So I go to the photo shoot, Derek's there, and actually Matt Porter and his wife Rachel were there as well. And Matt Porter was someone that I had met through competing and just absolutely loved the guy.
Mm-hmm.
And he came up to me and was so complimentary of how I looked. I mean, he was messaging me after prejudging, like on Facebook Messenger, like, "Oh my God, dude, this is you. You look so crazy. Like you have lines all the way up into the bottom of your butt crack and stuff like that. You know, just inside." I was like, and he was so there's Matt and his wife, and we're talking, and Derek, and we're all talking doing the photo shoot, and Matt was like, "So what's next for you?" I'm like, "Well, I'm doing the Tampa Pro next weekend, man. Like I just got my pro card. I'm already peeled. Like Jose wants me to do the 212. I'm gonna go for it." He's like, "That's dude, that's awesome. You should do it. Heck yeah, man." And I mean, I'll never forget this. As a matter of fact, I still even have some of the messages saved on my Facebook Messenger. But John Meadows had reached out to me and congratulated me on winning the USA's, and it's like, dude, you looked awesome, you know, like, and I had met John several times before. He was sponsored by Iron Rebel, and Dusty and Jose were sponsored by him at one time as well, and so I got to talk to him. And I mean, John, God, man, what just a great human being, so positive. Um, and John had messaged me, and I told John, I said, "Man, I'm doing the Tampa Pro," and he's like, "I have you and Derek winning that show. It's going to be between you and Derek."
Yep.
And at the time, I didn't even know that Derek was going to be doing it, but I had told Derek, was like, "What's next for you, man?" I said, "I'm going to do the Tampa Pro. What about you?" He's like, "You are?" I'm like, "Why not, dude? Why wouldn't, I mean," he's like, "Yeah, man." And he's like, "Where are you staying?" I'm like, I booked all my stuff last night after I had my victory dinner for winning my weight class. I was on the internet booking a hotel room. Hey, Jose was like, contact this person so you can send in your dues for your IFBB Pro card. You're gonna have to pay your registration dues for your Pro card. I'm like, heck yeah. I had everything submitted. I was ready to go. And so when Sunday came, I was booked. I already had my flight booked and everything. So Derek was like, "Well, hey man, we'll send you the information where you're staying and all that." And so sure enough, he stayed at the same hotel as me. He actually took some progress pics for me. I think I even took a few pictures for him. But yeah, we were hanging out together. Like God, I love Derek so much. I'm so happy to see this. I mean, I knew this was going to come. Like I knew this was going to happen. It didn't. Stevie Wonder could have saw this one coming because it was just a matter of time before this guy hit his stride and just became great. But yeah, he ended up coming up to do the dadgum Tampa Pro, and of course, I couldn't beat him then either.
It
He
was
won, and I got
close,
second.
man.
I'm not gonna lie. At that point, I was like, okay, he got me in Vegas. We're on a pro stage now. I'm just in my mind. I'm like, I know there's going to be two different rounds of judging. Like I know they're going to take everything's going to be a little bit more serious. And I thought at finals, I thought I was going to maybe get lucky because from what I could tell from my view, and this is just backstage looking around, I thought from prejudging to finals, I thought that maybe he was starting to just hold a small amount of fluid, just the smallest amount. Like his separation wasn't maybe just as deep. And I'm like, you know what? If I ever had a chance to win, this was going to be the chance because I don't think he's 100%. I think he's like 99%. I don't think he's 100%. But as you know, he won and went on to the Olympia and placed fifth in his Olympia debut in the
Right.
212 division. And like, I mean, it was like it wasn't a shock to me. Like I knew he was going to do well. I mean, like you knew. I mean,
Yeah.
this wasn't even jealousy. This was called honesty. Like I knew this guy was going to be doing great things. And I remember laughing, kind of laughing a little bit because we ran into each other at the gym in Tampa, like the day before weigh-ins or something. And I was in there lifting, and he was lifting with his coach at the time. And we got to talking. He's like, man, I was watching you work out, and all I could think of was, I can't wait until I have muscle maturity and I'm a little bit older. And I'm looking at him like, what, dude, what are you talking about, man? Like, dude, I'm so late to the party right now. Like, you're so much younger than me, and you're already a pro, and you're probably gonna win this show. You know, I mean, like I said, I still have the message from John Meadows, like, man, I have you and Derek battling that thing out, you know, and I was like, really? Like, I didn't even believe in myself that much, right? But I mean, Jose was like, dude, I'm telling you, man, you're gonna give everybody a run for their money. You can win that thing. You can. So hey, listen, I'm not gonna lie. I never had any aspirations to step on a pro stage. As you know, Chris, we talked about this, 8 USAs and 2 North Americans, 10 pro qualifiers. I was just like, when I knew I won, um, it wasn't like I was overlated or filled with joy. I was relieved. I
Yes.
was like, oh my God, this is finally over. I don't have to do this amateur stuff anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have to do the USAs anymore. Like, I finally did it. But I had no intent. I really had no intentions of stepping on a pro stage ever. I really was like, I'm gonna get my pro card, and then I gotta get back to like my life, because I knew, once again, I got my pro card and I didn't have anybody offer me a six-figure contract. Like,
Right.
wasn't like I had people knocking on my door like, hey, we want you for this or that or this. And I was like, so I knew, like, man, I can't be doing this. And so I was like, you know what? I was married at the time, as you know, and I told my wife, I'm like, listen, I know I just turned pro, and I told you once I turned pro that I was gonna like not do this anymore, and you and I were gonna go on vacations, and not have to worry about me eating out of Tupperware and stuff like that.
I think
So
I
I'm just gonna
before too.
right,
Said
I
that.
think I might have. I can't remember.
right. So yeah, I mean, I was like totally like I'm gonna do it. So I told her, I'm like, look, let me do this one show. I'm just gonna see. She didn't even come. Like, she came to be the USA's, but she had a job, and she's like, dude, I can't take more vacation for
Yeah.
work. So I had I had I flew out there by myself. Actually, Justin Compton had become a really good friend of mine over the years. He was living in Florida. He drove out. I flew Jose and Michaela out at the time, just so they could kind of be there to help me. And Justin was kind of watching me and stuff. So um, yeah, it turned out to be a really great deal. I mean, my very first pro show, I get a nice little $2,000 check, right? I was like, whoa, man, I've made it to the big time, you know? I mean, realistically, it really didn't mean anything, because I didn't get an Olympia qualification, and that was the last show to qualify for the Olympia.
Mhm.
And so after that, Jose was like, man, dude, he's like, you're going to qualify in 2018. And I was kind of like, no, I'm not, you know. Um, and so I did. I tried one more year of competing in 2018 as a pro, because Jose had told me it was going to be the last year that he competed, and I thought, well, why not? If I can get on the Olympia stage with him, that would be like the greatest gift that I could give him,
Mhm.
because it would be kind of like a full circle moment for me. Obviously, there were a lot of people that would have played a huge role in making that happen. Dusty is obviously someone that was really influential in that as well. But I thought it would, if I could get up there with Jose, I thought it would mean a lot to a lot of different people that helped me get to that point.
Right.
But as you know, life happened. As you know what happened with all this stuff with my wife, and I did some shows after that. Stuff had happened, because I was prepping for a show when it happened, and I had literally called up Jose and was like, I gotta quit, man. My wife's dead, you know. And he was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like, he didn't know what to do. He didn't know what to say. and I was an absolute mess for a couple of days. I couldn't sleep. I had to get sedated because I couldn't sleep. I was going on multiple days with no sleep, and I found out that that was really unhealthy for me and not safe. And so I had to get some medical help. And then after I kind of, got the help that I needed, I realized like I need bodybuilding more than ever now. I need to wake up and have this because if I just quit, I have no direction anymore. Like I don't know anything else.
Right.
Not that I didn't know how to do anything else, but it's like I didn't have time to start back over. That was not the time to start over. The time was to put my head down and keep going. And so I tried my best. I gave everything that I had to the best. I wasn't getting the placings that I wanted, obviously. I did the Indy Pro first and got second. And I'm like, hey, I'm really close, man. If I can just get a first place, man, I'll be Olympia qualified. Um, did the Vancouver Pro. I did the Dallas Europa and got third. I was really hoping for a second there or a first. It's just one of those things. I guess the great thing about the Dallas Europa is my mom and dad, who at the very beginning of this weren't, I mean, they supported me, but they really wanted me to go to college.
Mhm.
My dad was like, get your process operator 2-year degree and go work at the refinery like everybody else in my family did. My uncles worked at refineries. My dad, worked at refinery my dad was a self-employed, like he had side businesses, but his main gig was working at the refinery. My dad was just a hustler. He was a very driven, motivated guy who got the most out of everything. Even to this day, he's still around and alive and kicking. And my dad just barely slept. He worked graveyards, get off, go to the ranch, or go do a landscape job. He had a nursery, he was in the nursery business. So we were landscaping homes and laying grass. And oh, by the way, he'd go work a 12-hour shift at the refinery. And so yeah, my parents got to see me as a pro, not as an amateur, like at my first show and then shows after that, but I was a pro now. They got to see me get a trophy, I think I only got like $1,000 for third place at that show. But it was really a full circle moment for me because they were supportive, but they also were like, this isn't going to be the rest of your life, is it? Like
Yeah.
you're going to have to get like a real job so you can have benefits and health insurance and a 401k and all that. So yeah, like I said, they were very supportive, but they also were, to the point where like, hey, you might want to consider longevity. And so I got a photo with them. It was great. I just didn't get the placing that I wanted. And I went to Vancouver with Dusty and did the Vancouver Pro. Once again, I brought home a third place. Just wasn't what I needed. Um, and there were only a handful of shows still left to qualify for the Olympia. Like the Tampa Pro was still in play, but I didn't want to do that show again. And honestly, I had really gotten to a point where I had pushed and pushed and pushed because man, making, as you know, Chris, you've heard some of my stories, making the
Oh yeah.
212 weight limit was just absolute brutal for me. Like
Yeah,
just
you would
almost.
text me and you'd be like, Chris, I'm like 224, 226. I'm like, how is this gonna happen? Like how what
Yeah,
am I gonna do
yeah.
in the next 12 hours?
I had to basically dehydrate my body in a way that most people don't dehydrate their body. It's not is it dangerous? Yeah, anytime you're dehydrating your body, it's dangerous, but um it's one of those things. It's like I only have to do this for just a short period of time. Once I make the weight, then I can just it goes. I mean, like I had bottles of Gatorade, 32-ounce bottles of Gatorade. The moment I made weight, I was chugging
Yeah.
32-ounce bottles of Gatorade. Right? I had food I was eating donuts, whatever. Like I just had to get stuff in my body at that time. But to get down to that, to get down, from the 220s all the way down to 212, it was. it was it was hard. It was really hard. All I did was sit in a bathtub full of Epsom salt and wintergreen alcohol until like my body just dehydrated itself. Like I wasn't really drinking much fluid. I was drinking the least amount of fluid. I wasn't even eating at all, which was fine because I knew better. I'm like, hey man, if you start eating a bunch of food and you're not hydrated properly, you're just going to get backed up. And we all know, we've had competitors ourselves, if somebody we're helping, that you don't know what they're doing when you're not around them, and they get dehydrated and they're not letting you know that they're not using the bathroom normally. And all of a sudden they're backed up and now their stomach's messed up on stage. Everything's just off. They're holding water. It's just a mess. There's so much inflammation internally that it's like, gosh, I wish I'd have known this. So yeah, as you know, like I said, I had to really cut it down, and I think the weight of losing my wife, I never really had a chance to mourn. I would just like every day, I would just stop for a moment. And I just start crying, like couldn't stop myself. I just start crying. There were times where I didn't want to live anymore, right? Like I'm like, man, I'm done. Like I'm done with this. I'm done. I don't want to be here anymore. I don't like the way I felt. I didn't want to feel like that. And honestly, I don't even think qualifying for the Olympia was going to erase the feeling that I was feeling every day from losing my wife, right? Like, if anything, it was just taking my mind off of it, but I still felt a certain way, right? And it just didn't seem like there was anything that I could do to get that feeling to go away. And so, I had a dog that we had rescued, my wife and I had rescued for our 1 year anniversary. I had her shipped out to become a medical assist service dog to basically save my life. And, um, I basically, my dog became my person, she really, my dog Emma became like my person, my go-to. Brought her to the gym, brought her everywhere I went. And then, like I said, I ran out of juice in 2018. Like I missed qualifying by 1 point.
Mhm.
I had even reached out to the office. I just couldn't compete anymore. I ran out. Like as much as I wanted to do the Olympia, I'm like, man, dude, I'm I'm literally like fourth place on the points list, right? And one of the guys ahead of me, was it Muhammad El Sadani? El Sadani, the 212 guy. I think it's I think it's El Sadani. Was it Muhammad anyhow? He couldn't even get a visa to the USA for that. He was qualified for the Olympia that year, and I had placed ahead of him at the Indy Pro. Right, like he was in the Indy Pro, and I got second, and he got like sixth or so, whatever, fifth or whatever it was. But he had did some shows overseas to get enough points to get ahead of me in points. And I had reached out to the IFBB office. I'm like, listen, I'm 1 point away from qualifying, and the guy that's ahead of me in third place in the points, he can't even get into the USA.
Mhm.
So I will pay my own way. I'll pay my own flight, my own hotel. I just want to be able to go to the Olympia. Like I want to be able to get on that stage, and I got denied.
Man,
Right? Like,
it's like
yeah,
it's like why,
I
like
got denied. Well, it was really disheartening. I'm like, listen, man, my wife committed suicide. Like, I don't have many more shows in me.
Mhm.
Like, I got maybe one more show left, and I want it to be the Olympia. I can't make 212 forever. Like I just knew it. My body was trying to be in the open division, and I really, really wish things would have worked out better for me, where I could have did like one show in the open, where I didn't have to have like an extreme weight cut. But
Yeah.
I was just like, listen, I mean, it was my way of almost just begging, like, will y'all please consider giving me a bump up? And then I got the response back, we don't do bumps. And then fast forward, Cedric McMillan years later gets to compete because, oh, well, he was in the military and he
Military.
couldn't do shows, but he wasn't overseas. Like it's not
Yeah.
like he went over to another country and was dodging bullets. He was just still in the active reserves, right? And couldn't commit to any shows or enough shows to qualify. But they were like, well, you're Cedric McMillan, you can compete. And it's not like I was like I was like my frustration was how can you tell me you're not going to do a bump, but then you're going to turn around and give someone a bump when they weren't even qualified,
Right.
right? Like they weren't even qualified, right? So, I mean, I was 1 point off. It's not like I wasn't I was 1 point off, and two of the guys that were ahead of me, I had already beat them at previous shows that year. So I mean, Sammy Trudy, if you know that name,
Yeah,
he
I know who
messaged
you're
me
talking about.
on, he reached out to me on Instagram and he was like, "Bro, you should be at the Olympia. Why are you not there?" And I'm like, "They won't bump me up." He's like, "That's crazy." Of course, Jose thought it was absolutely crazy, so I had to. My last show ended up being the Japan Pro in Tokyo, which was amazing, right? Like that was an experience. Probably that experience was as good as anything I would have gotten out of the Olympia because I'd already been to Vegas like 30,000 times, right? Like
Yeah.
I'd already done it all in Vegas. I had seen it all and done it all except get on an Olympia stage. But I mean, it's not like I had never been to an Olympia. I just hadn't stepped on the stage, but going to another country and being around other people from different races and generations and just on foreign soil, like a long way from the USA was really eye-opening for me. And it was an experience that I'm very thankful and grateful for.
Yeah.
I didn't get the placing that I want, but at that point, I didn't even care. I knew I had to make the 212 division, so I was like, I just kind of quit eating, didn't train as much because I'm like, at the rate I'm going, my body's trying to go up.
Mhm.
So the only way I could make it go down was to just chill out. And so it's like, didn't really take any supplements for that show. I mean, I'm not gonna say I was all natural,
Mhm.
but I mean, I was taking like the littlest. I had like two different compounds and that was it. I was just trying, like I knew that flying that far, it was going to be hard for me to make weight anyway. And I'm like, I got to give myself the best opportunity. I mean, I got off the plane and I had some nosebleed that I couldn't get to stop. I missed I missed part of the athlete check-in because I showed up kind of late because I couldn't get my nose to stop bleeding. Probably the amount of blood that I lost helped me make weight. And then, once I made the weight, I went right back to the hotel room because I'm like, dude, I'm like, I'm sorry, guys, I'm bleeding. I got to get my nose to stop bleeding. So, as far as my placing goes and all that, like, it wasn't a great placing, but I wasn't even mad about it. It was, for me, that was just a really nice, expensive vacation. And I got to hang out with some really cool bodybuilders, had a really good time, doing a seminar for all those, the Japanese, people out there that they, had us do a seminar for. Got some great photos and stuff. So that was all, it was all worth it. But yeah, 2018 was a really, really, really rough year for me. And obviously I stopped competing after that. And I tried to come back in 2020. When I say come back, I was just going to compete in the open division show. And COVID came, and so I'd already lost everything. I had a dog and that was pretty much it. Everything else, all my money, anything I've ever saved, it was all gone, right? Like I wasn't making big time money as a pro bodybuilder. When my wife passed away, I had a bunch of clients that stopped training with me, right? So like I started losing an income. It was just one of those things where I realized really quickly, like I'm in a bad spot. And then COVID came and shut the gyms down. And I'm like, what am I going to do now? Like, I have no income. I'm trying to get unemployment benefits from the state, from workman's comp, if you will, through the state of Texas. But someone had tried to use my social security number in previous years during a hurricane to get disaster relief. And so they had a fraud alert with my social security number. And so it took me 6 months to get through the state just so I could file and get unemployment benefits. So man, I was a period where like 6 months I had $0 coming in, man. And I'm like, this is terrible. Not only am I not competing this year, I don't even have a place to live. I can't even afford rent. Like this is like I had to do a really like quick life evaluation. So it was during that lockdown time, I got my mortgage license. A lot of my friends that were trainers had become realtors prior to COVID, just as like a side hustle. Like, well, when I'm not personal training, I'm going to show houses and try to do home loan. I mean, try to do the real estate stuff. And I was like, well, since everybody's being a realtor, I need to do something different. And so I got in on the finance side, on the mortgage side,
Mhm.
and I still do that now. And I love it. It's great because I'm helping people, right? So yeah, I'm not helping you get the body you want, but I'm helping you get the home you want.
Yeah, that's
And some of the people that I've done, that I prepped as a client have used me to for a home loan too. So I'm like, man, this is great. Some people that use me for a home loan, I just give them a free diet because they're just like, dude, I want to lose 20 pounds. I'm like, here you go, take this diet.
yeah,
This, I promise you, if you do these few things right here, you'll easily lose 20 pounds.
yeah.
And so, that's kind of what I've been doing. I did a lot of in-home personal training. I stopped working at gyms. I was doing a lot of in-home training. In-home, one of my clients had bought this ranch that I live on now during COVID. And at the time, I was doing a lot of the ranch stuff for my father.
I'm
But I wasn't getting paid, right? Like I was just doing it because it's my dad. I love him. I want to help him. He's got 2,000 acres of land, and one man can't handle all that. And so, for me, it was like anytime I got away from bodybuilding, I found myself at my dad's ranch on the tractor. Like that's what I was doing when I was 4 years old. I drove a tractor when I was 4 years old. That's what my dad put me. He's like, "Hey, you're going to get on this tractor and you're going to drive it." And I'm like, "What?" And so I kind of found myself like going back to my roots a little bit. Like
yeah.
everything that I ever built up on myself came from the ranch. And so yeah, I got kind of head into that and woke up one morning and my client had called me up and was like, "Hey, do you want to take over my ranch?" And I'm like, "That place? That's not a ranch, that's a resort."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Yeah, I want you to take it over. I need you." And so I came out here. I started in 2023 and live out here, and it's incredible. I'm trying to get my friends to come visit. As you guys know, y'all have an invite. I've invited Dusty. I'm still waiting for him to come. I've invited Jose. He hasn't come yet. I've invited Derek Lunsford and his wife
Mhm.
and his family, and still no one yet. I've even Hunter Labrada. I've invited a lot of people to come out because until you've been out here to see this place, most people would never even be able to live in a place like this unless they win the lottery. And I mean that because it's that expensive of a place. It's truly it's breathtaking out here, and I just love it because I'm kind of away from the hustle and bustle of the big city of Houston, right? Like there's no traffic. My neighbor across the street is 1,200 acres, right? Like their house is three-quarters of a mile away, like, um,
Dude, we're coming to Houston.
Yeah, in June.
well, good. So
We
I'm
should,
about an hour and 15 minutes outside of Houston. It's not that far of a drive.
yeah, we should
So
make it.
you guys
For,
come on out.
for Texas,
I have
an
a
hour is nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, like I said, I have a guest house here. Y'all don't need a hotel. There's a guest house. Y'all can stay here. There's 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, so plenty of space for y'all. I do have a home gym here. Down at the main house, we have a little home gym. It's got the basics that you would need for a good workout. And then there's 2 Gold's gyms in College Station, which is about 20 minutes away. It's really awesome. But yeah, I got 4-wheelers out here, got dirt bikes, got some buffalo, longhorns, a lot of white-tailed deer. It's just the exotic animal ranch. Like I said, you might even see a bobcat or a fox. You
Oh,
never
wow.
know. But yeah, it's really great. Got a big old swimming pool, got a putting green, got poker tables, got a slot machine, got a Pac-Man arcade machine. I'm
That's
telling you, like when you come here, you're like, you're never going to want to leave.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, like I said, that's really, I feel like maybe, I don't know if I missed anything. Is there anything any questions you guys have for me that maybe, I missed?
Yeah, I think as we wrap up here for the viewers, what would you say if you had one piece of advice for someone getting into this, what would you say?
The first thing that you truly have to do is you have to learn how to eat and train. Like I don't think there's any other thing to say. Surround yourself with good people, right? Surround yourself with good people. Find a coach that's walked the walk, talks the talk, that somebody that has done it,
Hmm.
right? I'm not saying that there aren't coaches that have never competed that don't know what they're doing. I'm not insinuating that, but I think when you're first getting into it, I actually think having a coach that has actually done it is really beneficial. Um, but being around positive people, people that'll lift you up, because you're going to have good days and bad days. You're going to have days where you're probably not going to feel like you're at your best or you're not progressing the way you want to progress. So you need to be positive. You need to have people that lift you up. Um, and you have to have the right mindset, right? Going back to like I mentioned, you can't be a head case in this sport. If you're married, you need to make sure your wife is supportive. If you got a girlfriend, you need to make sure they're supportive. I mean, obviously, I was married, and my wife had competed before, so she understood it. Although she didn't care to compete anymore, she really didn't care anything about it anymore. She worked out, but that was the extent of it. And then I feel kind of bad because my girlfriend now, basically, it's almost like my wife now. Like she should be a pro. She looks like she's got an IFBB Pro physique, but she's not. And there is a part of me. I'm like, man, I wish I would have been able to meet her when I was still competing at the time, and let her come down my journey a little bit to kind of see some behind the scenes, because all she can hear now is my stories.
Yeah.
But like I said, she's been great. Like I'm like looking back, I'm like, man, I really wish, you know, if I was able to keep competing and not stopped in 2018. I really wish, if I was still competing, it would have been great because she's perfect, But like I said, anybody getting into it, you really the most important thing is you got to learn how to eat and train the right way. The right way. There's a lot of ways to do it, but the right way is the most important way. And that you'll get there by having a good coach. So that's one of the things that I would definitely say. Tell anybody that's trying to get into this right out of the gate.
100%, man. Couldn't have said it better. Well, yeah, this
Just
has
trying to
been
be
great,
honest. Just
man.
trying to be honest, man, right? I'm trying to be
Yeah.
honest.
Well, perfect. Hey, we appreciate you coming on, man, and we will definitely link up soon.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, as always, please stay in touch.
Oh yeah,
Chris, I'm not gonna lie to you, man. And I don't care if this ends up on the podcast or not. This can be just this is for everybody, but specifically for you guys. I've met a whole lot of really, this sport gave me the ability to really meet a whole lot of really great, influential people, right? I also met some really just shady characters. Some of the worst things that happened to me were done by people in this industry after my wife died.
hmm,
When I was at my lowest, I had some people in this industry that kind of kicked me when I was down and stuff, and they weren't as, they probably didn't treat me the way that I should have been treated. And at the time, I'm like, I'm not doing anything. I just lost my spouse. How can I be doing something wrong? I'm so paying attention to everything that I'm doing. Um, but the beautiful thing about this industry and this sport is when you travel around from state to state or country to country, show to show, you do get an opportunity to meet people, right? Like people will reach out to you to hire you as a coach. And so it's another way for you to meet someone that you would have never met in your life. And I'm really grateful for all the friendships that I made in the industry, all the people that I got to meet. I mean, a lot of people weren't even, some of these guys like Justin Compton never actually prepped me for a show, but I learned so much from him, right? Jay Cutler never prepped me for a show, but I learned so much from Jay just by watching the DVDs, right? He was probably the one guy that is probably one of the main reasons, besides me getting a six pack, like he was one of the motivating factors in me competing because I'm like, I get to watch, like, I want his life. Like when you're watching that DVD, you wanted Jay Cutler's life or you wanted Ronnie Cole. I want to do that,
Yeah.
right? I want to be a pro and I want to do what they're doing. And so, you, Chris, you and your wife, I have to tell you though, you guys kind of stand out a little bit above a lot of the people that I've met because you do a good job of communicating and staying in touch, and reaching out and checking in. I still talk to Dusty to this day. I still talk to Jose. I still talk to Justin Compton, a few other guys that I talk to. But there are a lot of people in this industry that are so immersed in themselves
Yeah.
that they don't even realize that um, you know they don't even realize that they're alienating themselves from friendships and other people, and you end up losing track with those people because, especially like me, I'm not competing anymore. I'm not going to these shows, so it's like, well, Jake's not competing and he's not going to these shows. So, the hell with him, right? Like
Yeah.
whatever. And so I think that's crazy. I think if you're able to make friends with someone, you should still be able to reach out and they should be able to respond back in a timely manner and things like that. And that's one of the number one reasons why when you reached out to ask me to be on your podcast, I'm like, well, usually people don't ask me to be on their podcast. But I was like, man, for Chris, I'd do anything for you because you're one of the few people that I've met as a competitor. I met you as a competitor, pretty much backstage, right? And all these years later, we're going on 10 plus years now. All these years later, man, it's like I'm still backstage with you, even though I'm not. I'm still backstage with you, still talking to you and communicating with you like one day has never passed since we first met. And so that's very rare. I want you to know that's very rare in this industry because most people are so hung up on themselves and they forget to stop and be like, hey, you know what? This person has done a lot for me, did a lot of favors for me. Because I remember a lot of people were asking me for favors and wanting help, needing different things. And I'm like, there was a lot of people that were reaching out to me when they needed something, and now they can't even reach out to even say hello. And I'm like, damn, man, it's really kind of disappointing. I guess that maybe that's why I have all the dogs that I have now. Maybe I have more dogs than I have friends because, I think, you guys know this, I'm not even trying to be negative or a Debbie Downer, but the biggest disappointments in my life came from people, not from animals, man. So I live on a ranch. I'm around animals all day, every day, and these animals never let me down. They never disappoint me. They always treat me good. They know I feed them, so when they see me, they come running up to me, you know?
I mean, you know how
But
much we
pe
love animals.
Oh,
yeah, but people are just totally different, man. People, think about it. How many animals, like, I mean, cows don't go kill other cows, really. I'm not saying that a longhorn can't hook another animal and kill it, but like humans, like, do bad things to animals, like animal cruelty, like humans do bad things to other humans, like murder and stuff like that, right? Like, it's really like as I've gotten older, I realize like, man, humans are honestly, humans are in many cases some of the most disappointing creatures on this planet. I mean, truly, and I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just the reality. Like, that's why you got to surround yourself with good people, right? Positive people, because a human will literally knock you off the top of your pedestal. An animal won't, but a human will, right? It's just the way it is. So, yeah, I just want to say, like I said, I want to say thank you for all the years of your friendship, and everything. You've been awesome to me, man. Anytime I'm somewhere that you're at, you will go out of your way to come up and say hi. If I can't find you, you'll find me.
Yeah.
And like I said, man, I think you're a great ambassador for the industry because you're a genuine, authentic person. You and your wife are kind people. You actually care. Like you're not reckless. You're not doing anything reckless. You're not being stupid or anything like that. And I just think it's rare. It's rare in this industry because it's really watered down and littered with a lot of just really just bad stuff. So yeah, man, just thank you from the bottom of my heart. Always know that you're a friend for life. You'll always be a friend for life. I always have your back. Anytime you reach out or need anything, I'll move mountains to help you out. So just wanted to say, I just really wanted you to know that, man. Like I said, you're an awesome guy, and like I said, I feel like I'm kind of doing the storytelling, but in many cases, stories are all I have now. It's what retired people do, right? We just sit back. I know, like I said, Nicole, she's heard enough of these stories. If anything, I need to get her around more of my bodybuilding friends so they can tell the stories for me because I'm sure she's heard my stories enough, and she's probably like, okay, I've heard that one already. I need to hear a different one. So.
I tell her the same my same stories too. It's like I always tell her, I'm like, well, who else is gonna listen to them? So
I know, man. I know. But anyhow, listen, man, please don't be a stranger. Even if you're not, like I said, even if y'all just want to make a special trip out here,
oh yeah.
if y'all don't have nothing else going on, you're like, hey, we just want to get away for a couple of days and just kind of be away from the hustle and bustle of the everyday grind, man. Just come on out here, and I promise you, you'll get lost in anything that you want to do, man. And the day will pass you by, and you'll be like, man, the day's already over. Like I'm not even. I want it to keep going. So
Yeah. You
anyhow,
got
man,
it.
thanks for everything, brother. I really appreciate you guys. I love you both, man.
Love you, brother.
We appreciate you
All
coming on
right.
the podcast.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
like I
great.
said, anytime if there's ever a time that y'all have like some specific questions y'all really want me to answer, I don't care what they are. I don't compete anymore. I'm not worrying about, I'm not going to worry about saying something to mess up my placing on stage or something. I don't care.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'll say whatever, but like I said, hopefully I gave you any information that you wanted. Like I said, I tried to kind of I could probably keep going on with more stuff, but you're like, dude, we're at 2 hours on this thing. We need to stop. So I even told Nicole, I'm like, man, I hope Chris and Steph have like some stopping point for me because I'll go till midnight if they give me enough material. I'll go till midnight
I
because
know. We've known each
I've
other.
been, as you know, man, I've been through a lot. Like I said,
Yeah.
I've been through a lot. I've done a lot. I'm doing more now in my life than I ever did as a bodybuilder, right? I'm doing more now than I ever did as a bodybuilder, but I wouldn't be able to do it had I not walked through that fire as a bodybuilder to get my pro card. I would have probably already quit because once again, like I had to get that mentality to go all the way, like set a goal and then just go after it. And so that's, now my goal is to live as long as I can possibly live and just continue to do and accomplish and learn as much as I can before my time is up. Like I never stop learning. I'm still learning more stuff. I'm never going to stop learning. Now that I'm out here running this operation, I can't just I got to be able to do everything like plumbing. I need to learn how to weld. I need to do so like this never stops. So, I'm not competing anymore. Like instead of getting better with my physique, I'm getting better with my mind and my spiritual body, if you will, because I have to be strong enough to just get around, and that's what I really care about most. I don't care about how much muscle mass or how much I weigh, but I need to be able to do a lot of different things. And so, like I said, man, all this stuff it comes full circle in life. Like you don't really know how much bodybuilding helped you until you get to a place in life where you can look back and be like, you know what, man, if it wasn't for those experiences, I wouldn't have been able to do what I'm doing now. So, like I said, I'm very grateful. I have nothing negative to say about anything. It's just really, you know, having some gratitude more than anything towards all the things that you have to go through in life.
Yeah, man. Well,
Well,
hey,
look,
brother,
man, y'all get
it's been
to
great.
it. I love you guys, and hope to talk to y'all again soon, man.
Yes, sir. We'll talk soon,
Have a
buddy.
good, have a good one, buddy. Bye
All
bye.
right, man.
See you later,
Yeah.
Steph.